So, welcome back to the EdTech Hackathon presented to you by the Vilnius University Business School and Western Union Lithuania. And welcome to the exclusive second session of Future Technologies of EdTech. Before we start, don't forget to ask your questions on Facebook just below the screen where you're watching this broadcast, because we do expect you guys to be pretty curious today. And ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off our second session with the first keynote speech on the promise of immersive learning, VR potential in a nutshell. For that, I'd like to invite on our virtual stage Paulius Juočeris, VR and interactive content producer, managing director at production company Ironcat. Paulius, how's the evening going so far?
Thank you. Great evening. Great evening. Everything is on the plan.
Okay, great. So hopefully no technical issues will be experienced. And since we're having people connecting from 13 different countries, the teams that are building the solution. So where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Vilnius.
Okay, so you're a neighboring, a neighboring speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to have you here, and I believe now is the time to give all the virtual floor just for you.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my presentation already?
Absolutely.
Great. So, hello again. I'm Paulius Juočeris. I'm a practitioner, a geek of immersive technologies field. I represent my boutique, cozy company called Ironcat. We work with interactive VR, AR projects for museums, tourism sector, educational sector, and private entities for about 5 years now. Before that, our company was producing audiovisual content, full feature outdoor films. The change is quite significant, but still story-driven, usually educational content, only these days it's interactive. So now let's jump to my findings in the interactive field of educational technologies. So from my perspective and my experience, the inevitable change is happening, and it's happening faster than most of us were anticipating. And most of us are not ready for that change. And our educational system is not an exception. We are on the verge of new digital era, with the big companies competing for the biggest piece of digital territory, new technologies, new devices, new algorithms, new concepts that seemed like fiction 10 years ago are reality now. And these, for good or for worse, do change the old rules and our understanding of how things should be. So now, remember yourself as a student. You are in 8th grade in public school. It's literature class. You have an assignment to read a mandatory book you don't care about, you don't understand, but you must read it. Remember that feeling, like what that felt when you could be reading Lord of the Rings, hanging out with your friends, do all other more interesting stuff, but you must read the book. It's miserable. For me, it's 20 years ago, but the feeling is still strong. And now let's jump to today and imagine yourself as a student now in 8th grade. Not much have changed in the educational system. I still need to read the mandatory book that I don't care or understand. The one thing that changed for me is the feeling of miserable. I would multiply it by 100. And it's because nowadays there are so many things I could do that would stimulate me much more than reading a book I don't care about. You have so much more stimulating content these days, and that's a fact for everything. In museums, we don't want to read long descriptions about art pieces. We want to see, to visualize, to understand, or even try. In our daily lives, we consume highly visual, stimulating content all the time. And that's a problem, or maybe not. I would say it's natural. We evolve and the system needs to adjust And that's where virtual reality, immersive educational technologies comes to play. Educational technology, virtual reality is the key because it has the ability to share information in new and engaging ways. It expands the possibilities to showcase topics that would otherwise be impossible to showcase because of cost or physical distance. And now is the time to start really looking to these solutions, because VR devices and applications have only recently become affordable and user-friendly enough for those solutions to actually be implemented in classrooms. For example, students can view microscopic objects in 3D or stand in the middle of physics simulation. How cool is that? Or in chemistry, you can do actual hands-on experiments. No more theoretical examples. VR also offers the ability for users to enter pre-recorded 360-degree visual experiences. This is this less immersive but often lower cost approach can be very useful when the visual presentation or sense of presence is the most important element of the experience, such as visiting a historical site. These experiences can also transcend physical space limitations. For example, visiting another planet or period in history, or manipulating huge model of microscopic object. VR experiences can engage students in hands-on gamified approaches to learning, which support cognitive development and increase classroom engagement. If we speak about complex or abstract topics as STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, visualization can improve engagement and memory recall. It would definitely work for me when you have to understand subjects that often rely on two-dimensional representation of concepts. Imagine visualizing these. For certain types of learning, they can also provide feedback to students and educators to adjust different objectives for individual learning, helping the struggling student not to fall behind the program. Also, VR solutions could be perfect for distance learning. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the value of teaching tools not being tethered to a physical location. VR-based virtual labs would allow them to conduct hands-on experiments regardless of wherever they are present in a fully equipped classroom or laboratory. Fully immersive VR experience also have the advantage of reducing distractions during the remote learning, encouraging students to be fully present during lessons. For higher education, VR can be particularly useful for high-cost or high-risk scenarios, such as in healthcare education. The cost of creating a virtual simulation can be as low as 1/10 the cost of physical alternatives in medical education. Another example is working with complex engineering or machinery. Students can practice operating or repairing 3D models and do that safely before the real thing. But VR extends beyond simulations and hard science. It can be used extensively in other disciplines too. Let's say art, creativity, expression. The possibilities that VR offers are endless. The possibility to sculpt, paint, model in 3D space, to move, dance, act, to collaborate in virtual worlds where only limitation is your creativity. Now, let's jump back to the example I told at the beginning about literature class. In 2018, a project Dream a Little Dream, virtual realities and literature, which encouraged students to create their own VR worlds based on texts they read, was launched in Hamilton College. Students were able to develop important skills in humanities, such as critical thinking and text analysis, and they also learned the fundamentals of VR development. Thinking about this, that feeling of miserable that I was talking about at the beginning is actually shrinking, decreasing a bit. For me, this would work. Another great use case in using VR technologies is to help to develop critical soft skills. This is especially useful for students practicing in fields such as law, business, and healthcare, where person-to-person communication, negotiation, and critical thinking skills are just as important as technical knowledge. For example, to practice responding to high-stress scenarios. And these are only some examples, and I believe that we are only scratching the surface here. The possibilities and the potential of immersive technologies, VR implementation for education, are enormous. But the promising future of immersive learning is not guaranteed. To ensure it, we need to encourage technical literacy. Because VR is still a relatively new technology, there is a technical learning curve for both students and educators that may discourage adoption. It is important to have the necessary knowledge to integrate immersive solutions in your classroom. I believe that many great educators are enthusiastic about deploying these technologies, and we should encourage them by offering educators training and resources for using immersive technologies. Accelerate content development. Educational immersive content remains in a chicken and egg cycle. Although quantity is expanding, the quality can still be questionable. This keeps the demand for immersive solutions still quite low, which discourages the developers to create such content. And the third one is investing in research on health and safety. There are still many unknowns regarding the health and safety impacts of VR technologies, especially for younger children. About 30% of parents are very concerned about the potential negative health impacts of VR that may create resistance to use these technologies in the classroom. The lack of research does not necessarily mean that these technologies are unsafe. So to fasten the empowerment, to fasten and empower educational immersive technology used in classrooms, we need systematic government investment in immersive educational content. As the technology continues to advance and gain more widespread adoption, new possibilities will arise. So I would argue that the time to start systematically implementing what technology is offering in our educational system is now. The change in our brain, how we consume information, what stimulates us is happening, and in some cases already happened. So let's not lag behind. And thank you. It's all I had to say.
Okay, so Paulius, thank you so much for this. And I do believe you were expecting some question like this, and I'd like to ask it from my own point of view. VR is something we're speaking for, I know, 5 years already, right? Everyone is predicting the big revolution. Everything is going to change. Everyone will start learning at home, traveling at home. And yet we don't see some major changes happening in the world. Where do you think is the biggest challenge that we don't find a way to overcome?
Yeah, it's actually the technical curve. It's still, like 5 years ago, virtual reality was still a very, very expensive and niche product. And as time goes on, we see how much more the technology advanced and how cheaper it became, and how more user-friendly it became. So now the only thing that will actually like change it is time. We need time to start using it, to learn using it. So none of the revolutions or like adoption of like technology happened like this fast. Every technology took its time.
Okay, so I do see you're pretty much confident that VR is still here to stay. Am I correct?
Yeah, for sure. I think in one form or another, it is here to stay.
Okay, understood. Yes, more questions we're continuously getting. How much does the set of VR equipment that would fit the classroom could or should cost? I'm modifying a question a bit.
Yeah, okay. At the moment, one set, that means for one person, I would say costs around 300 euros. And that's a very good VR headset that I'm talking about, like state-of-the-art Oculus Quest 2. So it's a very good headset. There are cheaper solutions. It really depends on what would you want to show in the classroom. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, get it. But then we also know that majority of, for example, Android phones could also work as a VR device. So why isn't it applied already today? So where is the problem? I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, that's kind of, in a way, that's a trick that I wouldn't suggest. Let's say it like that, like Android phones with VR function, they are not VR glasses. Like these are two different categories of quality. So if possible, I would use the dedicated glasses as a VR glass equipment. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't even go there.
Okay, understood. It's like non-alcohol beer is not beer, period, right? Yeah. Understood. Okay, so next question. The possibilities of VR in classes are great, but there is a need for the content in the national language, Lithuanian, for example. Yeah. Are there already available tools that are in Lithuanian and could be used in schools?
Not that many. I know there are some, but the problem is that, these are very specific programs that are created for a specific reason, for a specific class. For example, in my presentation, there was also one example, a Lithuanian example that actually our company has created. But that example, like that lesson, is actually for only the psychological lessons that are in that university. So at the moment, the biggest problem is that there is no systematic approach to it. There are programs from there and there, but there are no systematic database where they all could be. And yeah, that if that could change, that would be amazing. Because as well, we travel a lot. We travel a lot to different markets and see different programs. Germany has loads of immersive content for schools, and some of it is actually usable for us also. What we would need to do would need actually to translate it, and it would work. But yeah, it's quite expensive, and there is no way to get funding for that for now. So yeah, I hope that will change sometime, and there will be a systematic database for it.
I have a feeling that's a very good topic that could be discussed in the frame of EdTech Lithuania, the brand new organization that is searching for the ways to improve our education. On the other hand, that's a very good challenge that could be solved by a new team. So Paulius, Hackathon just started yesterday. Are you willing to form a new team and start to participate in it?
Oh, that would be complicated. That would be complicated. But I would wish I could do that. But You know, that's a good idea. I will definitely think about it in the future. I might do that.
Okay, allow me to do this. Dear everyone who is watching us, if you're still thinking of jumping on the EdTech Hackathon 2021, Paulius Juočeris is waiting for your message on his own personal LinkedIn. Hopefully, you have a very high probability of winning the big prize of 3,000 euros this Sunday. Think about it and contact him. Thank you so much, Paulius. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Paulius Juočeris, Managing Director and production company Iron Cat. Thank you, Paulius, for the inspiration. Let's move on. For everyone, I'd like to remind again that you can ask your questions on Facebook channel of Vilnius University Business School, where we are broadcasting this stream. Okay, let's move on to our next keynote. And have you ever, guys, watched Black Mirror on Netflix? If you did or you didn't, let's indulge into something called like AI or artificial intelligence. In just a second, you will hear Linas Būtėnas, the blockchain expert, data analyst, and AI researcher and co-founder at Superhouse, speaking about the future of AI in education. Sounds pretty interesting, right? So, hello to you, Linas, and how is the evening going so far?
Hello. Yeah, the evening is nice, and it's nice to participate in this hackathon and present some quite interesting, let's say, domain field.
Okay, Linas, which part of the population are you standing for? You are pro AI or cons AI, you know? Are you afraid of artificial intelligence destroying our future?
Let's say neither pro, neither cons. It's just coming. We need to make some rules, develop some models that we should not be afraid of that, and that AI should be something like a helping hand for us, not a threat. But that's a challenge.
And I do believe you will disclose more interesting details during your keynote speech, right? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, Linas Būtėnas, and the virtual floor, that is his.
Thank you. I believe you can see my slides.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so today's talk is about future of AI in education. So we can, let's say, start it. The first thing I wanted to give some plan for our talk. I divided our talks to some 4 themes. The first is shift from the on-site to virtual learning. The second is digital identity. Then we can talk about sensitive data and research outcomes. And the last one is self-aware and AI mentorship-driven learning. So let's jump to the first thing here. During this pandemic, let's say, situation, as we all witnessed, our view of the working and learning environment has, I said, not totally, but changed very much. We changed the view how we learn. We needed to adapt and learn new tools and ways for communication. Let's say in schools, from like the first grade child to the senior learners, which started learning at their 60s or 70s, had to, let's say, acquire new tools like Zoom, MS Teams, or other for distant communication and collaboration. That was a challenge, but no one thought that it is possible in such a short time notice. And it also changed our way for communication, because then we communicated with each other in real world. We usually just get to that person, we talk to him, we ask questions. So we can take something, some notes to the teacher. We can ask him, can you look how I did it? Is it okay? Maybe I have something, maybe you have something to add, maybe I can improve on something, and you will get an instant answer. So communication with your classmates or whatever learning partners, your group or in work, it was even more easier because you can go to the person, look what he's doing, look at his notebook, like you can observe what he's doing, you can ask things, he can point out with the finger, and you suddenly get the know-how, how to proceed further. But with the distant communication, with this virtual environment, this is a little bit harder. So you have somehow to transfer all that way of communication to the virtual environment, and not everything is very easy. So here comes some challenge where someone has to cover it. For the people who was learning by observing the other people, this is a much more challenging situation. So we need some AI-assisted mentorship to help them. And one of the things that I mentioned here is virtual tool experiments and extended reality was very well presented in the presentation before. So I need, I think, no mention for that thing, but I just can emphasize that enabling virtual tools, virtual models, and connecting them to all this virtual communication technologies can help us, but also we need something from AI side. So if we start from this digital thing, digital learning environment, the first thing that we need is a digital identity. Because if we look at the education, not now like for the local thing that happens in some classroom, but we look as someone sitting before the screen and transferring the knowledge, helping to learn, for everyone sitting whatever in South America, Antarctica, Australia, Europe, whatever you mention, then you don't see them. Usually, maybe you see the video feed, but that's very, how to say, narrow thing. It is very hard to identify the person looking through the small video screen. Usually what we were used to do, we used to meet the person, see his face, see how he reacts, how he speaks, how he behaves, and usually it gave us much more understanding and a lot of, let's say, human tools for identifying the person, who he is, and remembering him. Now it is much more challenging for the as the teachers, as also for the quality assurance of the results. So if we create a digital identity, this can be imagined as a digital passport, but it will have a proof that this is you, the person who sits behind the computer, wherever you are the same person from whatever computer you connect or whatever other device. That would give some proof of historical records, and also can give a possibility of decentralized modular learning path. That means that we can assemble small modules that you learn, small tasks, small tests that you performed, and maybe some even larger projects, exams that you completed, gather everything to one place. That can give a possibility to see the whole your profile and make some learning path from many small things to one big one. And that can give a lot of data to the artificial intelligence to analyze and then help us. We will talk about this just a few slides afterwards. So another small thing is that usually this is much more important for the universities than let's say schools, that you give some data and some partial research outcomes to your students, to your researchers that are on site. And this is safe because they are on site. Usually they are not taking the data, giving it to other people, because this is a, let's say, small environment. And usually when you are on site, you are more like morally related to that person. Then you are learning in a distance, then sharing tools, data, VR models, whatever, you usually share to everyone. And if we skip this digital identity profiling before, then you don't know who you are sharing. So if we have digital identity and we have data, how this research data is used, then artificial intelligence, by analyzing the patterns of data usage, of what persons do, or where they work, or what people, what companies are they related, can help identify the persons that maybe we even don't want to accept to the our class, or the ones that maybe we have to make some other legal agreements, much more stricter, maybe some different comparing to others. And then we come to the, let's say, the conclusion that AI can be helpful in a lot of ways, in a lot of, let's say, virtual places. With, and then we can call it AI-assisted learning. So first of all, before AI, this is very important to say that it should be self-aware learning. And self-aware means that as we get, let's say, more time for learning by ourselves, then we sit at our homes and we learn in front of the screen, we suddenly get much more responsibility, how we should behave, what we should do. And this responsibility leaves us for the decision which path we want to go, like the more easy one, the more harder one. Should we read more, do more exercises or less? And that will automatically will reflect in our results. So in this first thing, the AI model who can look over how we work, they can guide us a little bit and say that maybe you should put more emphasis on that thing, maybe you should put more emphasis on planning, maybe you should put more emphasis on the way you learn, and can assist us and give us the tool how to learn, how to be more self-aware and much more effective. The second thing is we need good mentors. Whatever the AI model we will have, and it will help in some ordinary tasks, the high quality human mentorship is very important. So, of course, if we want a very high quality mentorship, the number of people that can give us is limited. And if we connect a lot of, let's say, school children, students to our courses, that would be hard to get his attention. So if we get the AI model to assist the students in simple tasks like referring them to the right resources. That's how I have stated, like chat-based simple question answering. That will give the high-quality mentor possibility to relate to much more important questions that AI cannot answer. The second thing that AI can give us is a dynamic feedback that by looking how we learn, as I already mentioned, can give us the feedback what we should change. And the third one is that if we take much bigger picture, what we learn, it could guide us what micro path or micro modules we should take according to how we behave and how successful we are. So the high-performing student maybe will learn the same thing in, let's say, a month, 2 months. The not so high-performance student will learn it like in 3, 4, or whatever, 7 months. But the results during this process can be the same because they will achieve the same quality. So, but for this, to achieve this, we need to develop all these AI models that they can look how we do things, what we search for. We have to give the data to it, and then to see how it learns and how we can see how it improves. So this is my talk about AI-assisted learning. I think it might give you some insights of some ideas for hackathon, some ideas for future projects, and yeah, we can go to the question part.
So much, Linas, for that. And maybe the first question would be like, usually the AI sounds like some strange animal that is running in the forest that no one has ever seen in life. Yes, we do see those articles explaining that some scientists in some lab, they're trying to understand how this and that could actually work. But if we speak about today's world, what is that 1 or 2 solutions that you personally are very much excited about, and you'd say like each and every university or school should apply it already today? Is there something very much interesting?
Well, it's hard to say, hard to give a very concrete example, but there are, let's say, most of us are already experienced some with chatbots, with something the experience with the chatbot when you ask the question and you get the answer. So these chatbots are getting better and better, and as some of them have a learning model behind, they can learn to assist us in this first level, level teacher assistance, and give pupils, students the simple answers where they can find some information, what is the simple answers for some simple, for example, formulas and so on. But for the much more sophisticated help, we still are in the process of modeling and building it.
What about text-to-speech, speech-to-text, natural language processing solutions? Are they already sophisticated enough today to be actually used on our daily tasks, for example, in the schools? What do you think?
Well, if we talk about English language, then this is one thing, because there are very big companies like Google, Apple, and others are working on that. And I think part of the participants have seen videos how Google demonstrated how his assistant can order, let's say, pizza, or how can make an arrangement. But so that might be, I think, in English language implemented quite good, but it maybe will help for human-computer interaction thing, to input things not by keyboard but by voice. But it is only a small part of the AI. But if we talk about, let's say, much more smaller languages like Lithuanian or some other languages in the world which are small, then we will either have to work by ourselves for making the same quality thing, or we will have to switch to English language.
Okay, but I heard something like, if I'm correct, Kaunas Technical University is working on some project that is showing pretty amazing results, but maybe we should, or maybe you know something more about it.
Yes, I do. I was in the conference. I have seen that. Yeah, some results are pretty nice, let's say, and they are working to verify that it is not exception, for example, and we can do that. You can, for example, take something like about 50 hours of the speech of the person. Of course, you have to transcribe itself, and the model can learn quite nice to talk like that person. Or it can recognize its voice, but then we need also some models. Then we need the AI to learn each person's language like this, and that could be a challenging task.
Yeah, I've seen those online tools where you can basically say one sentence and then force the AI to sing a song or read a text in your own voice. Actually, from my point of view, it was pretty surprisingly good what I saw, the result. It's only one sentence that was needed. And in this case, it brings me to another question. What is your opinion about the deepfake? Usually, in the media, we see all these specialists being afraid of it, and they're saying like people are not ready for that, right? Because it's pretty difficult to distinguish, is it real or not? But if we speak from the other side, deepfake could actually help all the lecturers a lot. They just write down the text, and there is the machine that is building up the video, and it seems like there's a live person lecturing in a very amusing, very energetic way. What do you think about it? Maybe that would be the best way of use of AI.
Yeah, I think this is something like a nuclear weapon. You can use it for good things and bad things. So yeah, you have mentioned a very good example of how it could be used for good. And I think my presentation part about digital identities, if we connect that to the video, for example, then you will know exactly that now Linas Būtėnas is talking to you, not some deep fake, some whatever guy with some deep fake model on his face mimicking me. So we need just to combine several of digital technologies and to make new understanding, new way how we confirm to whom we speak now, and think we will get only or most good things from that.
Okay, do you think, we usually say like AI should enhance the way we live and our maybe mental capabilities, but we do also have a question that came from a person that is watching our discussion now, and he's asking, do you think that AI could decrease the thinking power of students?
Oh, well, as several people are indicating in their researches, the AI in the, maybe not in the learning, but in general, in the industry, in our world, might create a gap between the people who are contributing, who are creating the things that AI cannot, and the people who has not so good abilities and can make less than what AI has to do. So this can be maybe the real social threat, but we need to think then how we can maybe engage the people in more learning activities, the same AI to help them maybe achieve something what is not achievable today. For example, we have one teacher in the classroom, we can have 25 teachers, like the teacher for each person. Maybe it will help. We don't know, but I think it's worth trying.
Okay, understood. I believe we could speak about the AI till the very, very morning. So, but we do have very strict time frames for this. So thank you again, Linas, everyone. That was Linas Būtėnas, the blockchain expert, data analyst, and AI researcher and co-founder at SuperHow. Speaking on a very interesting topic, AI. And if you are very interested in artificial intelligence, I strongly advise you to participate in next week's very big 2-day conference, AI Boost, that is absolutely free of charge. And from what I know, there will be a lot of speakers deep diving into this topic. So don't forget to subscribe for it and search for more information. Okay, let's move on, everyone. And now let's get a very good glance at the kid-targeted sensory equipment. And for that, I would like to give the virtual stage to Ayman Arandi, and Managing Director at Iris Solutions. Ayman, do you hear me well?
Hello. I hope you're hearing me well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ayman, what's your perception towards the AI? Are you afraid of it?
Well, I think it's happening, and it has been happening for a while. But thank you, Linas, for the really nice presentation. It opened my eyes for the first time about the AI in education in such a way. I think, but just to speak a couple of words about this, AI has been there since the beginning of birth of computers. But it's becoming more and more affordable and becoming in every part of our life. That's why it's having this big buzz around it. And let's see, only the future can tell.
Okay, that's a very nice way to present it. From my point of view, from my personal point of view, I think it's too early to be afraid because we don't have yet built anything like a real AI that they show in those dystopian movies. So let's chill down. Let's look at the beautiful part of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Anyways, the next topic is a bit different, Ayman, right? So let's speak about kid-targeted sensory equipment, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Greetings all. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you about a topic that is dear to my heart. That is something I've been working with my team on for the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years. First of all, just a quick introduction. My name is Ayman Arandi. I'm Palestinian based in Vilnius. I'm managing and co-founder of Iris Solutions, a specialized provider for interactive sensory solutions. I'm also privileged lecturer at Vilnius University teaching entrepreneurship. I'm a geek myself with a background of computer engineering and a master's degree in management. And I've been always fascinated about interactivity and about how humans can interact with computers. Give me a second just to make sure that I got the slides right. And since I've seen the very first piece of technology of how devices can stimulate senses, I knew this is something that I would like to study and work more into. And in order to understand how this works, you simply look around you. It's everywhere. It comes from the basis of human brain is affected by the environment around it in terms of light, music, visuals, and sounds. And such technology or such phenomena, of course, technology which is trying to capture this this phenomena or this thing in order to enhance either the perception of human beings, in order to affect the decisions of human beings. And at the same time, there is good and bad usages of it. And one of the best usages of it is in education purposes. But I hope as I go through the presentation, more and more will be clear about this. But let me start by defining what is a sensory environment. Sensory environment is basically a contained space, controlled space that is built on three basic premises. First, removing external distractions. So there is no sensory inputs, which means any inputs to the senses of the body outside this space. So no noise, no light is coming outside this space. The second thing is that the user inside this room or this environment is able to control all the aspects of it, which are light, colors, music, sounds, sometimes smells. So you are, as a user, whether you're a student or a teacher or an adult who is enjoying this sensory space, is able to control it to the bits. And that results in creating a vivid, easily to absorb experience for the body. When these three components are put together, this is used either to create a relaxational space or stimulating space. So you can either have a child, let's talk in this presentation focusing on students, that it's being used in order to reduce stress, increase concentration of a student, and facilitate the communication between a teacher and a student. Such spaces are being used currently in schools, kindergartens, rehabilitation centers, nurseries, and more usages are being explored. And it's being used for both neurotypical children going or students going through normal developmental stages, but there is a big benefit to children with sensory disorders or developmental conditions, stress-related conditions like traumas, PTSD, and specifically talking about autism, but it doesn't make it exclusive to children with developmental conditions or stress-related conditions. To say it in basic words, in plain English, think of your own bedroom. If you have a candle and you play music that you enjoy, whether it's classical or whatever, rock, pop, this is a sensory environment because you are in a space that you are controlling. The light is being controlled by simply putting a candle, and it helps you to feel more relaxed or more concentrated. What technology allows us is to give more variety, more options to that, whether you want to play different sounds, from nature, birds, thunder, rain, or you want to play different types of music, music that can make you jump, pumpy music that you would use for sports, or music that will put you to sleep. This is simply the concept of sensory environments. There are a lot of shapes and forms of these rooms, and it's being explored more and more. But as a concept, it's not like a new modern concept. In the early 70s, two therapists found that simply playing some music while doing their sessions with children will enhance their receptiveness. It will allow them to communicate with the children in a better way. And since then, more and more research has been building up, piling up on top of this. And to tell you something funny, it's the same. It's driven from the same research that you would hear music in a shopping mall. it's for a reason that when you go into a big clothing or even a mall, you would hear this easy music that will help to ease the feeling. But this is more targeting for educational purposes. In early 90s, new solutions started to emerge, to be focused in the education purposes. And in early 2000, commercialization started hitting the market. And now there is a growth in this market all around the world. And there are sensory environments and sensory rooms. It has different names, or snoozolines, being used all over the world. But the thing is that there are some challenges in order to make these rooms available. First, these rooms are, in order to build them, it's quite bulky. It takes some time, it takes some effort, it requires a specialized team in order to set up an environment, which makes it quite costly, and position it as a luxurious secondary solution, technological solution that is only accessible by large institutions, and mainly is being used for institutions that really need such tools, which are usually rehabilitation, but it's not only exclusive to that. And what makes it also more complicated in terms of growth or expansion, availability, and equitability of such technology is that it's very specialized experience. Think of it like what would make someone more relaxed is different, might be stimulating for another student or a child. And through our work, as we work, like now we have around 300 sensory environments all around the world, 50 of them currently in Lithuania. And when I have the opportunity to sit with users or with clients, and we go through the demo of a sensory room, we see that sometimes putting a red color would put setting it in a red color would put someone on their feet or on their toes, would get them stressed. While for others, it might be a joyful experience. So it's a very specialized experience for everyone. And what makes it even more interesting, and this is where we open it up for the hackathon, just to come up with more ideas. There are a variety of solutions that is being innovated within the field of sensory environments. For example, here, you can see interactive floors or interactive walls, where you would have a projector showing a picture or a video or a game, and children will start interacting with it through their bodies, through their movement. And this is a great experience for the children in order to stimulate their movement, either their fine motors or gross motoric, and is a strong tool in the hand of teachers in order to grab the attention of the students and facilitate communication between the user and the guardian. Another example, and this is maybe, I wanted to show something that is not hardware dependent. I've been seeing a lot of solutions that is software targeting students through a mobile application. One of the leaders around the world is a company called Calm, which is now valued in billions of dollars. I don't remember the number, but it's huge. And they're offering this mobile application, which is free. You can check it out. And it plays some relaxation or meditation sessions that help students and teachers. They can play it in a classroom. Another example is Headspace, which is an application for guided meditation, where students can listen to this individually or as a group. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that research is super essential to this work, like any other educational related solution. And we were lucky, and I will take this opportunity to thank our great partners who we work with, our Lithuanian partner, Pinky Poche, a research and therapy center who has been supporting our work since the very beginning and shaping how the solution and the service that we're offering is being done. MIT University, Georgetown University, and currently we're doing an amazing extensive research with Vilnius University on the effectiveness of sensory environment in schools. And what I can say as a technologist, usually what happens is that you put the hat of the user while you're developing your solution, which is a big mistake that usually engineers fall into. And this is where it's super essential to understand that you need to separate yourself from the user as a designer, as a product designer or a product manager, because not every scenario that works for you also works for a child. And this is where research and having someone on board while you're working from the field of education is super essential. So this is my advice to all the participants of the hackathon, is to try not to limit your team into one vertical experience, whether it's programming or business. Make sure that you have an educator or content curator on board. Another challenge that you or if you get into this field, and what we always faced, is there is a big resistance in the field of education for the usage of screens. And that's understandable, of course, because more and more children and students are spending time behind their phones and behind their tablets and laptops. So when you are introducing some technology in the field of education, the first reaction is usually from teachers is that, okay, we don't want another tablet, we don't want another technology. And what you want to keep in mind always, what is a technology? Is it a screen? And what I usually tell the teachers or the users, a chalkboard or a chalk is a technology, same as a tablet, same as a phone, but it's about how to use it. And this is a philosophy. I believe technology is great when it's a necessity, but as soon as it stops being necessity and becomes a secondary and luxury, this is where the harm comes in. So for any technological educational solution that you're creating, you want to keep in mind always the usage, how to make sure that it's necessary and it's beneficial, and that you're not adding more complexity or adding more problems to this field. One last thing to mention is that sensory environments is not limited only to schools or to therapy centers. More and more, it's being explored in different aspects, like in spas, hotels, saloons, in private businesses as a recharge room, elderly houses. And there is even some studies being conducted now on the usage of sensory environments in addiction centers, in prisons, and even in households. So there is huge potential for this technology, and that's how I see it, and that's how I love it. And my very last slide, which is a flag I always carry with my team, I do believe the best businesses are the businesses that creates impact and makes money at the same time. And that's what the magic of social entrepreneurship. And with that, I hope this is a quick brief about what is a sensory environment, where it can be used, and maybe just to trigger some creative ideas how it can be utilized in schools.
The only one word that I'd like to say in the end of your presentation is amen to that. I loved the last slide. I loved it. Ayman, thank you for actually explaining us on the sensory equipment and how does it work. But if we would be looking, for example, from the perspective of universities, what are the possibilities that are already available today, and where should one be looking if we, for example, have a lot of, let's say, policymakers looking at us now here? So what are the missed opportunities that you'd say, like, guys, it's already here, just apply it, just start using it? So what that would be?
I can tell you that it will be happening. It might take might take a while, it might take some time. And let me give an example. I remember my elementary school were among the lucky ones to have a computer lab in it. It was the only school in my city to have a computer lab. Today, every school have a computer lab. So same, I would see it for sensory environments. And now it's being used as a necessity, but little by little it will get. And the way I see it to be used in universities, now, like universities are caring more and more about the livelihood, the well-being of the students. So having a corner where students can recharge, can relax, can take a minute or 10 in order to take a nap or relax a bit from the stress of studying, that will make it, that will be a perfect space for it. So I guarantee, maybe I'm too excited about this technology. I'll believe it a lot in it, but I see that it will happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, work and life balance. That's the only one thing I keep reminding my friends every day. Don't forget, don't forget that. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and interesting ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ayman Arandi, from Managing Director from Iris Solutions. Good luck with what you do. Let's move on, everyone, to our next, or let's say last but not least presentation. Do you know about Satoshi, the mysterious person who wrote the Bitcoin white paper? Rytis is the closest thing that you will ever find. Computer security, social engineering, and cryptography are great conversation starters if you try to befriend this proud Bitcoin maximalist. And he wanted to become a psychologist back in the day. Imagine that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite on our virtual stage our last presenter for today, Rytis Bieliauskas, CTO at CoinGate, with the presentation Blockchain, Practical Value versus Cargo Code. Hello, Rytis.
Hello.
It's an absolute honor to have you here. How many Bitcoins do you own?
I never answer such questions, but I can say that I was interested in the technology behind Bitcoin since 2011, so about 10 years now.
Yeah, so everyone can do the math themselves, right?
Yeah, and I'm a CTO at CoinGate. We are a cryptocurrency payment processor, and we help businesses accept cryptocurrency payments in their online or retail store.
Amazing. It sounds like a very interesting topic you're going to be speaking about. So the virtual stage is now yours.
Thank you. Do you see my screen?
Not yet. Are you sharing the screen?
Oh no, I thought, okay, I thought it will.
That's fine. We have all evening. No worries.
Great.
Just make it full screen. Yes,
Great.
You're good to go. So good luck.
Yeah. So what I will talk about is, well, actually not the company I work in, but about a more general subject. So yeah, everyone nowadays has heard about blockchain, but there's a lot of myths surrounding it, and well, most of the myths are negative ones. But I would like to take time to debunk some of the, let's say, positive myths. And what I mean by that is that very commonly now the word blockchain is used just as a hype word to basically sell your idea or your product, but it has nothing actually to do with the actual blockchain. And I think AI and some other terms are used like that as well. So first, let's start with a definition, how Oxford Dictionary defines what is blockchain. So it's a system in which a record of transactions made in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency is maintained across several computers that are linked in a peer-to-peer network. So just from the definition, we immediately see that blockchain cannot exist without cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin or another type of cryptocurrency. And I would like to give you another definition, and you will see in a moment how it's related. There is a term cargo cult programming. So it means applying a design pattern or coding style blindly and without understanding the reasons behind that design principle. So where does the term cargo cult itself came from? It's a very interesting historical phenomenon. When colonizers left Africa and countries which were poorer, where people were not familiar with the newest technology, the natives there saw that these colonizers use planes, use mobile phones, use other type of technology, which brings food, medicine, and other good things to them, but they did not understand how actually the plane or the mobile phone works. They only saw how it looks like. So after the colonizers left and all the goods left with them, what those native people started to do, they started building like sculptures, copies of those things they knew were related to the goods and improvement of life. But of course, because they didn't understand the actual technology behind it, their copies were just superficial, just cosmetical, like they would make a plane from wood or a mobile phone from wood or like a satellite dish from straw. Well, obviously they failed to get any better benefits from that, but a similar thing happens with blockchain. I've often heard the term used, private blockchain, which is again by definition an oxymoron, because blockchain cannot be private, it must be public, otherwise it's not a blockchain. And I think the main reason why that happens is because people misunderstand what the innovation of blockchain is, because they look at the name, okay, chain of blocks, and then think that this linking of data in a chain where you can always know which data came first, that is the innovation, or they sometimes think that the network architecture, the distributed network architecture, is the innovation. But that's not the case, because both of those things have existed for decades, since the 90s or even perhaps longer. And the actual innovation of blockchain is the governance model, the consensus model, how a consensus is achieved in a completely decentralized manner, which Bitcoin was the first practical solution which enabled that. So in computer science, this problem, how to achieve consensus in decentralized manner, is called the Byzantine generals problem. It was solved theoretically before Bitcoin, but Bitcoin was the first practical implementation of that solution. And also even the word itself, blockchain, comes from the Bitcoin white paper. So very often when companies say that they use blockchain in their product, it's one of two things. Either they are not even using blockchain and they are calling just some type of distributed ledger system as a blockchain or something else, or they actually try to use blockchain, but actually for their product the blockchain does not give any real benefits, because any decentralized system will always be less efficient and less fast than a centralized one. But efficiency and scalability are sacrificed to achieve decentralization. And specifically, as it relates to blockchain, we mean a decentralized governance model. If you don't need decentralized governance model, if you need to centrally control your project, then you don't need the blockchain. So just to summarize, saying the private blockchain is basically like taking the engine out of a car, putting a horse in front of it and thinking that, okay, now you took the main innovation of the car, but applied it to traditional technology. So no, that doesn't work. And I hope my short explanation will help to understand you why it doesn't work. So do you have any questions?
Questions? I believe that the word blockchain is so deep and so big that we could speak till the very much morning. But Rytis, if we speak from the very practical side, so what are the possibilities that blockchain can unlock for the, let's say, education today?
Well, I wouldn't really see any direct benefits for education, actually. I think what's needed is maybe some sort of standardized system, but I don't see any benefit if that system would be controlled in a decentralized manner versus centralized manner.
Yeah, there should be someone in charge, right?
Yeah, and if there is someone in charge, it's no longer a blockchain. It's
absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't think in specifically education in general, and maybe for some narrow cases, but just for education in general, I don't see the benefit.
What if some security issues, or for example, counter fraud solutions, would blockchain actually be useful here in order to actually verify in some blockchain that something is actually authentic?
Well, there's two different issues here. So one, blockchain is very good and probably best than anything other we have right now to prove that some specific file or text or whatever existed in some at some specific time moment. So for example, if I want to prove that this document existed on this date, what I can do is take a hash of the document, put it inside the transaction, make it transaction on the blockchain, and then I can always show to that transaction. You can see the timestamp, you can see the hash, and I can prove that this particular document existed at that time moment. Now, if we want to know whether the document is authentic, well, that's no longer a question of mathematics, it's a question of authority. So again, by definition, someone has to well, guarantee that this document is authentic. And if there is some central party guaranteeing the authenticity of a document, well, then it's not, again, it's not decentralized anymore, unless by authenticity, you mean, well, basically the fact that this document existed. So yeah, you can definitely do that.
Yeah, and since my imagination is now playing with myself, I just wondered, what if a university would issue their own coin, you know, for the internal payments on the campus, for example. And we do know that some certain subjects carry some weight, or let's say we have to pay in some credits. Just imagine if we could actually build a financial system inside the organization, whereas people could actually invest and bet on the students and their achievements. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a very old idea, and what's funny is that crypto like enables and resurrects lots of stuff which existed hundreds of years ago, but which people already forgot, because like before in the United States, before Federal Reserve, Basically, anyone could make their own currency. So a lot of states, a lot of companies had their own currency, and it's basically the same. Universities had their own local currencies. I'm not sure what would exactly be the benefit of making a university coin instead of just using like Bitcoin, let's say. But sure, it could be done, and perhaps it could bring benefits. And regarding the let's say universities, I had my master's degree in digital currency a few years ago in University of Nicosia, and when I got my diploma, this diploma, when I got it in physical form, but also it was on the blockchain. But I would say it was more like a fun gimmick. I don't really see the exact benefit of putting it on the blockchain. But yeah, it was still fun that it's possible to do. And who knows, maybe in the future, some use cases can be found which no one can think of now.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your ideas and for your insights and for the inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Rytis Bieliauskas, CTO from CoinGate.
Yeah, thank you
so much, Rytis. With this, our second day of this amazing EdTech hackathon presented to you by Vilnius University Business School and Western Union Lithuania has ended. I would also like to thank all of our partners and sponsors for the support of this event. Allow me to name a few. Of course, our main sponsor, Western Union Lithuania. Our sponsors, Transcom, Guidehouse, City of Vilnius, Vilnius Education and Improvement Center, Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park, EdTech Lithuania, Startup Lithuania, Vilnius University Tech Hub, and our communication partner, 15 Minutes. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for more inspiration, because we will be having a discussion, The Future of Work is Now, and keynotes from 3 brilliant-minded individuals on the future of work. Of course, good luck to the teams that are working day and night and building their solutions. We are pretty excited to see your results on Sunday evening. And good night, everyone. Have a nice evening.